I'd say nothing to worry about here. Nothing to worry about here. Ooh. Oh. They ain't looking too happy though. Hey-o. Threat neutralized. Done. And our little spider friend didn't even get hurt, so that's good. So before we get into the real reason we're here, I want to show you guys something I just bought. Oh, I just picked up this tripod. This thing is pretty sweet. It's adjustable up to like 74 or 76 inches or something. Can't remember exactly. This is the name and the model number. But it comes with a bunch of different mounts. I got the mount for the phone in there, but there's also one for a camera. And it tilts this way. Tilts this way. And I loosen up this knob. It's really hard to do this one-handed. It also telescopes up quite a ways. It's pretty sweet. I'll leave a link in the description for anyone if they're interested in purchasing it. I got it off Amazon. I like it. I bought another one before this, but I didn't like it, so I returned it. I normally film with a gimbal, but if you've seen my video where I worked on the sump pump and my gimbal has got blasted with vinegar, it hasn't been working right ever since. I'm sure the vinegar is corroding something in there, and my gimbal's probably living on borrowed time now. But I don't always need a gimbal anyways. You know, a tripod works fine if I'm just filming something while I'm stationary. So, yeah, I found this one. I really like it. And it was only, after tax, like it was only like 40 bucks. So here's the reason we're here for this video today. Doing some repairs and some maintenance on this thing. I recently replaced the belt on it because the one that was on it finally blew after like 8 years and almost 300 hours. Not too bad if you ask me. But I bought one from Amazon, and this is what happened after 15 hours. And not even a full 15 hours, because if you've seen my other video, I was running around with the sweeper on it, so the blades weren't even spinning, which means the belt wasn't even spinning. So it was 37 bucks for this thing. You know, a lot of times I get lucky with finding deals on Amazon, but this is clearly not one of the times. It just, what a piece of junk of a belt. So I finally splurged, spent 90 bucks on an actual another Cub Cadet belt, because if it's going to last, then it's worth the extra money. So here's the new belt, the new Cub Cadet belt. That one that lasted for 8 years was also an actual name brand Cub Cadet belt. Apparently some things you just got to go with the actual name brand. Also, my blades, I've sharpened them many times. They're just, and I got one that's bent right now. They're just kind of beyond being able to be used anymore. So I bought some new blades. Once again, I went with an Amazon special. We'll see how these last. They're supposed to be like mulching blades or something. I don't know. I've never used this style. We'll see how they work. So we're going to throw those on today too. And we've got oil and a filter, full synthetic. So we'll change the oil today too. I'm also going to grease this thing. It's got a number of grease points on it. here, and then I don't see it. There's some on this inner wheel bearing too, and then I think on this pivot point somewhere. I don't know. We'll find them all again and hit those with grease. So let's get into it, I guess. So we got here the filter on the side, and then here's the drain tube. Let's see. It's hard to see there. And then look underneath right here. So it's not the easiest to get to, but that plug was really in there tight. And it's not very easy to reach. So let that drain. Stuck a rag underneath the filter because I'm sure this is also going to make a mess. Yeah, look at that. What a stupid design. And apparently these threads go on forever. There we go. So I got a bunch of crap sitting down in here. I want to clean that out with a rag. There, that's looking much better than it did. Hey, got our new filter. Oil. Just a dab of oil. Put it on the gasket. Dripping all over my pants. There, good and snug. So all that oil that spilled from taking the filter off, I got that cleaned up nicely too. I put Teflon tape on my drain plug because it's got pipe threads. So in order for it to seal good and not leak oil, you're going to want something like Teflon tape on it. Make sure you get the old stuff cleaned off first. Drain plug's back in. Time to add the oil now. Here's where we add the oil. It's also our dipstick. We got our funnel in. I believe this thing takes 2 quarts of oil. So guys, the oil, the manual says the oil change interval on this mower is 100 hours. I mean, I guess that's pretty standard of any small engine, but I wasn't even at 100 hours on this thing. It don't hurt to change the oil. My dad always said that oil is cheap, engines are not. So the more often you change it, the less likely you are to have an issue with your engine. Second quart. Ooh, poured too fast. We got the oil filled, so we're going to start it up so we can check the level. for a minute, then we'll check it. So the oil level was perfect. Now we're going to change the blades and put the new belt on. In order to put the new belt on, we got to take these guards off here and here. And I've put it up on ramps so I can get underneath the deck easier. I'll show this part as best I can. It's going to be hard to see underneath that deck, so... Half the bolts on these guards are missing. They're kind of crappy bolts. So as they've been falling out, I've been kind of replacing some of them with a different, not like an actual bolt. Because I don't know, these are, it's almost like a kind of like a self tapper or something. So I'm not going to be able to finish this project this morning like I wanted to. And I'll show you the issue I just found. Right here. Cracked. Other side. Same way. I don't know if you can see that. Cracked right there. So the weird thing is, actually, it don't really move. It seems pretty solid yet. I don't know if it's because the other two are still good. But it's a matter of time. It'll break completely off. So I'm just going to order the new parts. I checked the other ones. The other ones looked fine yet, but I'm going to replace all three because if this one broke, I'm sure the other ones aren't too far behind. So for right now, I'm just going to unbolt these old deck spindles and the blades. We might scrape out the bottom side of the deck, get it ready for the new ones, and then wait for the new parts to come. Okay, I think we're going to have to try and spray some penetrating oil down into those holes because those don't want to come loose. And I don't want to snap them off. Gotta love rust. We'll get the other blades off while we're waiting for that penetrating oil to seep in. Oh. So we got all three blades off, and I did get the deck spindle off, the broken one. And yeah, I thought they were just cracked. They broke right off. Crazy. And all but one bolt, the head snapped right off. These things are aluminum with steel bolts, so of course they are corroded in there pretty good. So I got the new ones ordered up because I took the measurements off of this and I found the part number. So I got the new ones measured up, ordered up. They should be coming sometime in the next few days. So till then, I guess this project's at a standstill. Okay, it's a new day. Our parts finally came in. Got 3 brand new spindles and the hardware to go with. One thing I noticed different with these new spindles though is these ones got a grease fitting on them, where the stock ones you can see don't have any kind of grease fitting on them. So to make my life easier, I put the back end up on jack stands. If you can see that, because I got the bottom side of the deck here all scraped out. And the next thing we're going to do here, I decided to add another thing to my little project list here. We're going to take the whole deck off, and it looks like it ain't that hard to do. I see it looks like if I pull this, and there's one on the other side too, and then in the front here, it's just hooked on here, and it should come right off the whole deck because I got the belt off already, obviously, because it broke. And the whole reason I want to take the deck off is because I want to paint the underside of it with a high gloss paint, because I feel like it'll stop all that grass and stuff from sticking so much underneath. If it's got a high gloss paint, it won't adhere to it so well, and it should fall off better, and I won't have so much buildup under there. That's my thought process anyways, so we're going to try it. So I swept up the floor underneath the deck so that we had room to work good, and I put a jack underneath the deck, lifted up the backside a little bit to make it easier to pull these pins, because it seemed like there was a lot of pressure on them. So we'll see how that works. Okay, so I just tried pulling these by hand, and they're pretty tough to pull, so I think we need to get some pry bar action going, because it ain't wanting to go by hand. I also don't want to bend nothing. Oh, it's starting to go. If I could get this pry bar to stay still. Okay, got the first one. That was not very easy. I'll do the other side. This other side is proven to be kind of a bear to get out, so I can't pull it even. There's no room to pry it out, so I'm going to try. I got a bar here lined up with the pin. I'm going to try tapping that pin out. It looks like it is going. There's just no way to pry against this thing. There we go. So now I'll just let this jack down, pull it out, and you can see right here it's just hooked on these brackets, so all I gotta do is slide it off that bracket and this whole deck should slide out then. Okay, and just like that, we got the deck off. So first thing we're going to do is pull these other 2 spindles off, because we're going to replace all 3. And then we're going to pressure wash the underside of this deck. Like I said, I scraped it all off, but you can see I don't think that's ready for paint. So we'll get those off, then we'll pressure wash it. We're going to try taking these out with the impact. I don't know if they're going to break off or not. Obviously they broke off on the last one. Yep, first one broke. Other one broke. Other one broke. And the last one broke. Another one broke. Another one broke. These last two bolts aren't even the factory bolts. You can see they've been replaced with a different kind of bolt because they even got lock washers on them and they're a different size. Had to get a different socket. Apparently these ones that they put in after the fact are metric. But they actually came out, or at least the first one did. And so did the second one without breaking. So these last two that aren't, they don't have the broken off ears, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of a hoarder of parts, but it's served me well in the past when you're in a pinch. And if I'm ever in need of a new spindle at the last minute, these old ones will serve good for the time being. So at a later point, I think I'm going to get these busted bolts out of them. But it sounds like the bearings aren't in the greatest shape anyways. If you listen here, I don't know if the camera will pick this up. I mean, that bearing's pretty noisy. Here's the new one. You literally can't hear anything. So, you know, like I said, that's why I'm replacing all three, because I'm sure the last two weren't too far behind the first one. As far as they're all going to have a catastrophic failure eventually when the bearing just, you know, goes bad. But like I said, I like to save old parts that I take off that are still in decent shape, you know, because they work in a pinch. Well, we got it set up now for pressure washing, so let's get to washing this thing. Okay, we got it all pressure washed off now. I'm going to tilt it over so the water drains out of it, and we're going to let it dry, and then next we'll paint it. It's all dry now. I got it set up ready for paint. And this is what I'm going with for paint. I went with this because it's a high gloss, and like I said, my thought process is that with the high gloss paint, hopefully the grass won't stick as much. We'll see. couple minutes and then we'll come back and recoat it. So this paint dries to the touch in about 20 minutes and then it's ready for a recoat. It's been about 20 minutes and it's not even tacky anymore, so we're going to coat it again. By the way, this is a paint and primer in one, so that's why I didn't prime it first. Okay, I ran out of paint. I had to go get another can of paint. I don't know. I thought one can was going to cover this good enough, but I guess I was wrong. And then while I was at the store, I picked up some more parts for another project I'm going to have going a little bit here. So let's finish up this paint job. Well, we'll let this coat dry, and I'll probably just finish off the can on this because I can't think of anything else I'd use this yellow paint on. Well, let's put another coat of paint on here and finish this can off. Well, I think we'll call that good. Let it dry. So our paint's all nice and dry now. And I'd say it turned out pretty nice. You know, it's definitely not perfect, but we weren't going for perfection. It's miles ahead of where it was before. And, you know, like I said, hopefully it'll do what I'm hoping it to do and stop some of that grass from building up and sticking underneath there. Time will tell with that. But let's get to putting this thing back together so we can get it back on the lawn tractor. Okay, guys, I'm not Bill Nye the Science Guy or anything, and so I'm not going to go real in-depth to the explanation of this, but I kind of wanted to give a little insight as to why those old bolts were so seized into the old spindles. The old spindles and the new spindles are made of aluminum, and the bolts are steel. So when you have two dissimilar metals touching each other, like this situation here, you get what's called galvanic corrosion. And one of the ways to stop that would be to put like a thread locker in the threads, because it seals up and makes like a barrier between the two to stop any water and air from getting in there. Because water is considered like an electrolyte, which will speed up the galvanic corrosion. And galvanic corrosion is basically like the ions being removed from the weaker metal. Therefore, like the weaker metal is sacrificing itself. It's along the same lines of like a water heater. A tanked water heater will have an anode rod in there. And that anode rod is, you'll notice after time, it gets all corroded and pitted. And that's because it is sacrificing itself, pulling all of the metals and minerals out of the water so that it doesn't rust out your tank on your water heater so fast. So that's about as in-depth as I'm going to get with my explanation, because like I said, I'm not a scientist. That's my understanding of it. If you guys have a better understanding of it and want to further explain it, or you want to argue the point with me, feel free to in the comments. I'm always open to learning more new stuff. But so yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to put some thread locker in there to make it easier for the next time these got to come out, if they ever got to come out. So let's get to installing these. We got the spindles all bolted in. Now it's time to put the blades on. One thing I noticed though, guys, the grease zerks are all on the bottom side of the deck. I'm not overly crazy about that. I don't know why they wouldn't have installed them on the top side. Seems like that would have made more sense to me. And then the other thing is we got these little protective caps on, protecting threads. And this kit didn't come with new nuts, so I have to use the old rusty ones. I'm not overly impressed with that either, but it is what it is. So let's get to getting these blades on. Let's give her a little test. Looking pretty good. Okay, I think before we flip this over to go install it back on a tractor, we're going to give each of those bearings a shot of grease. I'm sure they come with grease in them from the factory, but it don't hurt to put a little bit more in, I'm sure. So I flipped the deck back over, and there was another grease fitting here for this tensioner pulley, so I gave that a shot of grease too. We'll put this deck back on now. So if you can see, this is where this wheel rides, and this bracket is bent. Who knows, I probably hit a tree root or something like that, or we're going to straighten that out before we put this deck back on. So it's not perfect, but I got it pretty straight. Good enough for anyways. I just noticed something though when I was doing this. These little wheels, if I can get the focus, they actually have grease zerts on them, grease fittings. So I never knew that, and I've owned this lawnmower a long time. I don't know what a difference they make. I'll hit those with some grease though. Okay guys, we got the deck all back on. I didn't figure I had to show that part because it's just a reversal of taking it off. Yeah, the next thing we gotta do is put the new deck belt on. Then we're gonna hit our grease fittings, and then we should be ready to roll. I think this video is getting a little long anyways, but I'd like to show you the new blades and everything working in action, so let's get to it. Okay, the belt is all on. Nice and tight, looks good. Let's hit those grease fittings now. I almost forgot I had to put the guards back on too, so those are on now. Now I'm ready to lower it down and go try it out in the lawn. Now the good thing is, guys, while my mower is broke, I hit the pause button on the grass growing. See? Didn't get too long at all. guys, I could not be more impressed with how this just turned out. Now, granted, I just did a little section, but you've seen how overgrown that was. These bearings on these new spindles are so quiet. Like, I literally didn't even know if the blades kicked on at first because it was so quiet. I'm used to it being so noisy. And then also, you guys seen how many clippings usually come out with those old blades and the old... I assume that was the old blades doing that. I got a different style blade you've seen on here. These are supposed to be mulching blades. They are working great. I could not be happier with how this turned out. Guys, if you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you watching. Throw me a comment. Tell me what you think about this project and how it turned out. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll catch you on the next video. See ya.